Welcome to the Inner Athlete Podcast, where we discuss all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.
Nathan, what's been happening in your world?
Keeping busy, mate. Keeping busy.
How's Richmond going?
Yeah, Richmond's going well. Obviously a teacher there within the Richmond Institute. So, it's wrapping up the term. So a lot of assessments and things like that. And also been helping out a little bit with the Next Gen Academy, which is the young talent coming up, which is really good. So helping out with the physical preparation side of things with that. But yeah, happy to have the school holidays coming up. So that's where I get to have a bit of a break, which is good.
Yeah, that's kind of actually a nice little segue into what we're going to be talking about is kind of, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, well, we're just going to talk about... really, well, I guess parents are kind of asking, and a lot of kids want to really improve sport performance. Like, they want their kids to succeed in their sports. And obviously, if you're, as when I was a 15-year-old playing basketball, I wanted to perform at my best. But there's multiple elements to that, and I think that there may be some things that we can hopefully provide you guys with in terms of how we can improve our sport performance, but also talk over the different elements to what we mean about that and how we can help. Yeah,
and I guess the bigger reason why we're even talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, any kid growing up, I think who plays sport wants to be the best. They want to be, they want to do well. They want to, play the sport well. They want to win the game. They also want to have fun. They want to socialise. And at the end of the day, they want to enjoy the time that they're playing their sports. And I think there's multiple elements to that, and I think we can kind of draw on those points today.
Cool. All right. And what are those like 4 key points before we actually go deeper into them?
Yeah. So there's 4 key points that. That we, as strength and conditioning coaches or those who work in the kind of the performance realm for athletes, and those 4 key elements are our physical development, okay, and I'll break down each one of these, but it's our physical, it's our technical, as athletes, it's our ability to tactically perform, and also our mental state, so our psychology. So I guess I can break down those 4 that really encompass our ability to perform. And when I mean by perform, whether it's to achieve an outcome. So if it's our sports, obviously, the majority of our, I guess, we all think about winning and losing. When we win, we have a good, have a great sense of achievement. But it also could be just, playing the game, being competitive, having fun, socializing with friends. So there's multiple different goals that people will have when it comes to playing sport. It might not always be to win. With growing athletes and developing athletes, we try and tend to look more into or focus more on that enjoyment side of things, and not focus too much on that win and lose, because at the end of the day they are developing athletes. But I guess I'll start with the physical. Like, at the end of the day, when you look at all the best athletes in the world, they're strong, they're fast, they're explosive. They've got all these physical capabilities that make them really athletic, which means, if they can jump higher, they can run faster, then, these are the sort of things that are going to help them in their sport, right? And that's where, I guess, where we fit in, that as strength and conditioning coaches and physical preparation coaches, we come in and help you improve those elements. So strength, power, speed, and we, develop those in the gym environment, and to hope that transfers into their athletic abilities. If it's basketball, for example, it's jumping, it's getting rebounds, it's sprinting down on fast breaks. If it's footy, it's going up for marks, it's taking hits when we getting tackled, things like that is where we come into that physical side of things. And we can all look at, if you look at the professional playing leagues, a lot of the athletes are pretty similar in terms of their physical capabilities. A lot of them very athletic, but what sets them apart is a few other elements.
Yeah, and we'll go into that in a moment. Yeah, I'll probably want to preface that as well. There's only certain things that we can control as well. These are the things that within the gym environment or in training we can actually control. Like obviously, like genetic makeup, someone's height. We can't change these factors, but we can influence other factors, whether or not they might be advantageous. Whether it's basketball and they're 6'8", and we can improve their vertical or just make them more explosive. They're going to be even more dominant in a game, or a sport like basketball or even volleyball in this case. But then, genetic makeup, obviously, depending on someone's genetic background. So if they're more Polynesian descent, they're going to be more strength and power based athletes. So they're going to be suited towards more sports that are more strength and power. So I think it's good to recognize, I guess, some sports, they need a good blend of a lot of different physical characteristics. Some sports are going to be more biased towards a certain demographic or a certain population as well. So it's definitely worthwhile to understand if it's a team-based sport, which we tend to work with quite a lot. They, various positions can have, athletes that have different backgrounds or different genetic makeups.
No, definitely. And, in staying on that physical point of view, we also think about the health of the individual. So things around, nutrition. Are they eating the right things that's going to be able to allow them to perform at their best? Are they getting enough sleep? Are they getting enough time to recover? All these sort of things. Stress management. Obviously, as kids go through school, and there's a lot of stressful times when it comes to exams and assessments and things like that. So these are all all come into account when it comes to our performance output, and that's something that we track and really try and help our young athletes that are coming through. So that's one component. Any other comments around that?
No, let's go to the technical side.
Yeah, so the technical side is, I guess, probably one of the most important parts of this, is because, at the end of the day, when you are, whether a basketball, football, soccer, netball, whatever sport you play, swimmer, every sport that you play, the more technical, the more of experience that you have in the technical side of things, it's gonna obviously gonna help you a lot. So obviously in basketball, if you can shoot that hoop, you can shoot from the 3-point and get that in, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get a lot of success when it comes into the game situation, right? So the physical side might not have to be that. It might not be as important in some areas of your sport. Whether you're, when you play footy, if you're up on the forward line, okay, if your kick, right, is really important to be able to kick that through the goals, right, between the two posts, right? So if you're, if you're 50 out or 35 meters out, whatever it is, yes, you need that strength to be able to and power to kick that through the goals, but you also need the technical skills to be able to have that kick an accurate kick, right, and get it through the goals. So this is where I guess the physical side is obviously you need that. You need that part, and that is an important component, but you also need that technical skills to perform, and this is where the sport coach comes in, right? So if we're talking about a high performance team, this is what when you see in the professional setting is that the sport coach works well with a performance coach or a strength and conditioning coach, because it goes hand in hand, where the sport coach will help that to particular individual or athlete really enhance those skills, so that when it does come to the game situations, they can perform. They can do what is going to help the team achieve and succeed. The result, whether it's winning or getting a goal and things like that.
Yeah, and I think it's worthwhile to note that this is where you kind of spend majority of your time as well. I know, like, the physical development in the gym and doing sprints and all that jazz is part of it. But if your goal is to become the best tennis player or the best footballer, you've got to be practicing your skills more often than actually being in the gym. The gym does not transfer to the field. On the field work transfers to the field. So it's specificity. So you need to be practicing that specific task that you're actually going to be doing on the actual day of performance.
No, definitely. I think I'll touch on that as we go through each of these elements of performance, and we'll talk about how I'll bring up the bucket analogy, which I'll do at the end of this to conclude. But with that, we'll move on to the next one, I think. And so physical and technical, really important components that's going to help your performance. But the third one is the tactical side. Okay, so the tactical side of things is around strategy. So whether it's or a game plan. So when you're a tennis player, you go in with a game plan. Okay, whether you're in footy, same sort of thing. In basketball, there's all these strategies that you'll come up with, and there's also like plays. So you might have a captain, you might have a coach that calls out a certain play depending on where the opponent is positioned, things like that, so that it sets them up for the best opportunity to score, to get a goal, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, based on what they've actually practiced as well.
Correct. And I think those who are listening, obviously, those who've played sport, majority of your training sessions is about this. It's about learning and refining and your skills, and then you're putting that all together whether it's a game situation or whether it's going through the motions of this gameplay. I played basketball growing up, and these are the things that we went through. Is okay, let's play it. Let's put this play together. Okay, when this player or this center or this guard is positioned in this point, okay, you're going to set a screen here, you're going to go around the player, the other player is going to do this. So these are the sort of things that are going to help you get the outcome and achieve what you want on the court, on the field, whatever sport that you play.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. But I think with the technical, or not technical, the tactical side, it's always worthwhile to see what the best of the best are doing as well. I think it's worthwhile to actually see because we work with a lot of swimmers here, we actually look at some of the best swimmers in terms of their block starts and their turns and whatnot. We actually try and break down and analyze what are they doing really well specifically, and that we can take lessons from that to help transfer across as well. And I think that's a really important lesson. I know that's more of a skill-based component, but also there's a reason why they do that as well. So I guess it's more of a technical side. In terms of a tactical, so when I was working with the Frankston Dolphins VFL team, they would watch a lot of film, and the coach there at the time had worked at other VFL and AFL clubs at different levels, and a lot of the film that they would watch would flow down from the AFL level into the VFL level in terms of like the tactical component, in terms of like the framework they would set out defensively and offensively as well. This is really true with the Melbourne Storm system as well. I used to did a little bit of work with the under-18s, with the under-18s development team, and the idea with the Storm system, it was supposed to have it as a trickle down effect. as well. What are they doing at the professional level? And they want to be able to bring juniors up through the system. So they want to be able to teach them a system of how to play as well. And, you know, the Storm system is highly regarded within the industry as well. So it's one of those things where, as an athlete, it's actually worthwhile to actually go into these systems or finding out from these coaches and playing under these coaches to get the technical, tactical side of playing, because you can have all the skills in the world, but if you aren't able to apply those skills in a tactful way, then it's not really leading to wins at the end of the day. So you can have like the best 5 NBA players on the team, right? But then you can have like the best team that works coherently. So Golden State Warriors is a good example of that, where they work very coherently as a team, but they still played against superpowers and they still beat them.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with all that, and obviously it's, those who are big sport fans have seen that it's a massive. A lot of coaches and sporting teams put a lot of effort into analysing how they performed. How did the team perform? How did the individual perform? How can we improve tactically? And obviously, skills come into it, physical side comes into it, and they all work together to help yourself or help the team perform and achieve.
Yeah, and when you from a tactical perspective come together, it kind of flows into the next point about the psychological side. You're very synchronous. You're working together. You're not resisting each other. Everyone understands the flow. You're moving like water. As a Bruce Lee analogy, you're working with each other. Everything's like flowing well. Like all the cogs in a watch, a mechanical watch. There's no batteries or anything like that. It just mechanically moves, and everything has its role, and everything does its job, and really successfully and very accurate as well. But leading into the last point, the psychological side, which kind of like brings it all together, or kind of works harmoniously with all the three other points. I think this is a big point of understanding how you perform under pressure, what you're actually bringing to the team. Are you able to work at that level, and also the team psychology as well, and what the values and beliefs that they have as a team. And I know a lot of teams will tend to do an off season or a pre-season. They'll do like training camps, bring the morale, and everyone to be on the same level, same energy frequency, if you want to call it that. And this really helps. And I've seen this numerous times where it's worked quite well when they've done successful training camps, and the energy, and just it carries throughout the season as well. Like they kind of go through some struggles together. When you set up like tough physical tasks, over a 2 to 7 day period. And everyone kind of comes out on top. We did this together. We slugged it out. It's kind of like the psychological side of bonding, essentially.
Yep. So obviously, the physical, technical, and tactical is really important to performance. But as you alluded to, the mental, the psychological side is probably one of the most important also, and that's why they all kind of go hand in hand. I think. If you think about your sport, like whether you play sport or watch sport, and if you are an athlete and you've been playing a sport, how much of the sport is above the shoulders? What I mean by that, how much is that is in the head? How much is that when you really think about it? You've been practicing the same kick or the same shot or the same whatever it is skill that you've done over and over and over, and it's easy to you. When it comes to training, it's easy. But on the field, when it really matters, most of the time, I'd assume, those who are listening, hopefully you can go, you know what? Yeah, it's the mental side that will affect my performance outcome. Whether it is, I played basketball, so I like to use that example, is that, you might have a free throw shot, you got 10 seconds left, free throw shot that's going to get you over the line. It's you and that basket. You're just bouncing that ball, you're breathing, okay, you're looking at that ring, and you've literally got it right in front of you. You've done this hundreds of times, you've got it in.
Thousands, but then, tens of thousands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then it's the pressure. You feel the pressure. You feel like you start to doubt yourself. So all these things start to come into your mind, and then when you shoot that shot and you miss that shot, it's the worst feeling in the world, because then and then you realize to yourself, and then you get down on yourself because you're like, I should have made that. Like, I've practiced that over and over. But what stopped you? It wasn't the physical side that stopped you. It wasn't the technical side that stopped you, and it wasn't the tactical. It was the psychological. It was the mental side. It was your ability to calm yourself, to get yourself in a calm state to be able to take that shot, and deal with that pressure.
It's like one of those make or break moments in sport that we all have, and I know I've had my fair share of those moments where things are on the line, and sometimes you perform and sometimes you don't. It's kind of the nature of what sport is, and it kind of makes it kind of very unique in that sense. But I think what I have noticed is when when the psychological side plus fatigue, so obviously you need the physical side, the physical preparation, and then you got fatigue and you're trying to make a decision or you're trying to make an action and trying to make it sure that you execute it well. Unfortunately, that can hinder your ability to perform as well. So you've got fatigue, you're stressed, there's 5 seconds on the clock for whatever it may be. You're going to make that shot. I'm tired, I'm heavy. Are you going to be that person to be able to step up and to make the shot and give it your best attempt, or are you going to just palm it off and just be like, I'll try and get it in or something like that? So I think it comes down to some level of mentality with the way that you approach things. Well, the one thing I like to do with the kids here is have the mentality of being the hardest worker in the room. Now, I think The Rock says that. The hardest worker in the room basically means no matter if you're feeling crap, tired, happy, rejuvenated, doesn't matter what it is, if you're the hardest worker in the room, what that really means is no matter what you're going to do, you're going to give it your all at every attempt. And if you do that and you win, you deserve that. If you failed and missed a shot, you know that you actually gave it your all no matter what, and you know what to work on for next time. If you just say, I try, it's like, oh yeah, you're psychologically saying, I'm going to fail. Try is basically another word. It's like, I'll try and give this a go. And it's like, you're setting yourself up to fail by saying something like that.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, really an important component. And, those who, again, in a high performance, in the professional environment, where you've got a high performance team, you've obviously got strength and conditioning coaches for the physical. Okay, you've got the coaches, sport coaches for your technical and also tactical. Okay, you've even got sports analysis that look at everything, gameplay.
You
got
got opposition analysts as well.
Yeah,
in
there
some
you go.
sports. Yeah,
100%. Right, and then you also got your psychologists. Okay, sports psychs that help with the mental side. And I think it's important. I know that as kids growing up, and unfortunately there's not many places around that you can get all four in the one, but we still can take from that framework, that professional framework, and work on those things on our side. And I think reaching out to a strength and conditioning coach as your athlete, as your whether you're 12, 13, 14 years old, getting into the sport, these are the times where you can, if that's something that they want to do for long term, definitely these areas are something we should invest in. Physical, getting good coaches around them, and also even just reaching out to sports psychs or mindfulness coaches, things like that are really helpful. So I think just to conclude with that is that I like to think of these components as buckets, so buckets of water. So what I mean by that is that if we spend too much time on, let's say, the technical, as Trent said earlier, is that we get stuck into, all right, we got to get really good at skills. Yeah, we got to get good at shooting hoops. We got to get good at kicking that goal through the post, right? So we can spend so much time on these skills, but then what happens is, we're filling up the bucket. So we're filling the skills bucket up, right? The technical skills bucket. But what will happen is that you're spending so much time in that bucket that starts to overflow, right? And all the other buckets that are going to help you, right, are either empty.
I'll pause there, because once the bucket is full, you cannot further improve the skill.
Correct.
Until you address some other area.
100%. So no, I like that. So if you think about that, is that you got three other buckets that you need to fill, right? And if it's all going in the one, then you're missing out on opportunities that's going to help improve your performance. So think about evenly distributing, your week, your time, your effort into your physical development, into your technical skills, into your tactical, and also into your mental. So I think that's a really important thing. And I've obviously been fortunate to work with the Richmond Football Club, and I can see how their schedule is, and these are the things that they, their schedules all pretty much balanced across the physical, the technical. They've got time with their psychologists and working through things. So definitely something to take away is that these are the elements that are going to help improve your sports performance in a more holistic way.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We are on YouTube and Spotify. We really want to spread the word out on youth athlete development. We think it's just like an undervalued, misunderstood, or just not understood well. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know industry, essentially. If you don't know what that analogy is, just leave a comment below and I can explain that on another podcast. We really enjoy doing these types of things, and we want to see the best for the kids as they've missed out on a couple of years of their actual physical development due to what's been happening around the world. But other than that, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
You have just listened to the Inner Athlete podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the release of weekly episodes. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get great tips on all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.